that couch area.
Upstairs? Wow, you look terrible in this.
We are the Richmond Animation Archive, or RAA for short.
Hi, I don't
We
know.
are
I
a
have to
small
say-
collective of artists, animators, and historians dedicated to preserving the oral history of Richmond, Virginia. We work to provide a sense of community and a glimpse into the everyday life of the people of this city. We collect all kinds of stories. Stories of loss and stories of joy, stories of change and stories of continuity, stories old and new from, well, anybody willing to share them with 9 strangers holding a microphone. We present several of those stories to you now.
Okay. My freshman year of college, I didn't have a car here. So we had to learn, me and my roommate had to learn like the GRTC system and the public transit system. And we had an art history class together where we had to go to the VMFA for a project. So we took the bus there and decided to take the last bus back to campus. We got halfway there, and the bus driver looked at us and was like, "I don't go any farther than this." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So we got off the bus and like followed a couple VCU students into one of their dorms, like into the common area. An Uber back to campus was like $50, and we didn't want to pay $50, so we took an Uber to Carytown, and then caught one of the University of Richmond's like campus shuttles all the way back to campus, and it was like a very, I don't know, it sounds weird saying it now, but it was like a very fun afternoon and a little bit stressful also because we were new to the city and we didn't really.
And I just love the birth theater. I worked there for a little bit. It's almost 100 years old. I think it's like, yeah, I think it's almost 100 years old. It's like 95 years old or something like that. It's really cool. You can go. There's like an underground lagoon you can go to into the birth theater. That's terrifying. Yeah, there's actual ghosts there. Like, I don't believe in ghosts, but there was something.
I used to go to this video store called Video 2000, and it was VHS at the time, and I'm gonna really date myself here. You know, there was no streaming of film, stuff like that, so we watched VHS, and eventually DVD came out. And I remember being like a small child there and walking in those rows, and there was like a horror section, and it had Pinhead. You know, you're probably familiar with the image of him holding the cube. And I saw that Pinhead, and it scared me, like as a child. I thought, wow, I shouldn't go over to that section of horror. I'll stick to my animation, comedy. It kind of felt like a rite of passage for me to like walk over to that section, and like now I'm like brave enough to walk in the horror section, you know.
So I just finished painting a mural in Scott's Edition about the sort of in-between ephemeral community of DIY nonprofits, artists, workshops, studios that have occupied a lot of spaces in there for the last like 10, 15, maybe 20 years as part of the sort of in between the fall of the industrialization of that area and the rise of the luxury apartments and breweries.
You can't expect a man or a person to be them best selves if they're hungry. My name is Lil Lamberta. I was born in Richmond in 1981. I connected with Gallery 5 to do spaghetti dinners. So I miss doing spaghetti dinners. It's like a movement that was started in the 80s. The concept is like you can't just give people theater, like you have to feed them too. And by feeding them is how you make change. So when the Halloween parade was smaller, we would sometimes like do a circus in Monroe Park. So we had just done a circus, and then we were doing a spaghetti dinner inside Gallery 5. And we were like rehearsing and baking bread and making spaghetti. Next thing you know, the fire marshal showed up, and the fire marshal like blowing out this like 90 brick little brick oven with bread in it with the huge hose. And Gallery 5 used to be a fire department, so it's really funny like seeing all the fire people like outside the ancient historical fire department that's Gallery 5. And they said that you have to have a fire like 50 feet away from a building. Richmond has always kind of, because this is early days, 2009, Richmond has always kind of been one of those like snakes eating its own tail. Like I think it's only been held back artistically by the city itself.
Do you need me to introduce myself at all so you remember which? Okay, good. Because I only do that when I'm recording. Like, I know who you are, but go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm Ian Stewart, host of the World Music Show, heard on 93.1 or 107.3 FM, or streaming at vpm.org/worldmusic. And I'm also a reporter for VPM News. So there you go. Tune in to get all your local news. I've been in Richmond, or the Richmond region, for 18 years. Mm-hmm. Came in 2004.
So what originally drew you to this area?
Cost of living. I hadn't heard of I knew Richmond somewhat, but we were like, I didn't know Richmond. Other than, I guess it's the capital of Virginia. It was a small enough city, really easy to navigate, and they were kind of trying to reform themselves in a way, like up and coming, where they had some art going on. The downtown was kind of cool, and then we looked at the home prices. We're like, oh, hey, we could actually buy a house. We're like, let's, get a job. And she got a job, and I was gonna find a job when I got here. And we moved across country with 4 animals in a car, 2 dogs and 2 cats in a car, and drove across country and moved here and had a hurricane right away, and then had our first big snowstorm right away, and tried to get used to Richmond. When we came here, we noticed a huge kind of divide between races in a way and classes in a way. And there was this also a division of old Richmond money and North versus South and things like that. But here it was like, oh, Yankees. And then we saw our first Confederate flags driving around Chesterfield and other places, and that was a shock because in my mind, the Civil War ended a long time ago, and we didn't think that was a thing, and apparently it was still kind of a thing.
I'm not really sure, but one of the first moments for me was like trying this restaurant right close by called Mama J's. I was like, wow, this food is amazing, and this is now my favorite place. So like, I think just having a favorite food spot really just made me feel connected to the place before.
I guess happiest memories I've had was attending the parade during Halloween, where you would see a lot of people with different costumes, and you'd always get surprised by what people choose to wear, so that's always neat. Me and my girlfriend has been attending that many times. Of course, I won't get into further details, keep it PG, but it was always a fun time. Everybody's always having a good time. The parade goes on, starts. It's in the Oregon Hill neighborhood, and it would go on for a minute, and at the end, the band that was leading the parade, which is usually No BS Brass Band, they usually end up at a park where everybody just gathers up and just like kind of dances to the music, and everybody's just having a really good time, just dancing around, complimenting each other's costumes, and there's a lot of, torch sculptures that they also have, which are really cool, very crafty. You really get to see a very artistic part of Richmond during that parade. So yeah, that's a really good, happy memory.
Did you get to carry one of the puppets?
No, I never.
My name is Karina Figueroa. I've been in Richmond since about 2011, and I think my first time being at like Belle Isle, someone invited me to go there, and I think it was like the first week of freshman, but they took me into Belle Isle for the very first time into that rocky area where you got to climb down the ladder. And there was I'm telling you, 50 people all over that thing. And there was people out there grilling. There was boom boxes. There was people doing a fire and doing s'mores and hot dogs. And then all of a sudden it started raining. So we're all just running, trying to get out. It was already too late. We were all getting wet, but we just wanted to leave. And then we had taken a before and after pic of before the rain, and then after the rain we were soaked. My shoes were off. I was running barefoot around Belle Isle. That's one of my happiest memories, is being in nature amongst just random Richmond folk, strangers talking to strangers and just being friendly and just partying in the river, in the woods.
Silly genius, visual artist. Moved to Richmond in 2004.
My name is Mecca. I'm a mental health professional, and I've been in Richmond since 1995.
There used to be this spot called Rendezvous. Wiz Khalifa and Currency came here when they dropped the High Fly album.
Wait a minute, listen, I saw Run DMC there, I saw Common there, all in one night, and it was free this particular night.
It's a barbershop now. So that just goes just spaces that just don't exist anymore. Strange Matter is gone. Empire is gone. It's a sidewalk now. The web, the spider web of creative energy in the city has lost a big chunk in the last 20 years.
But it's some new energy, and things like this didn't exist back then, so this is good.